Hi, my name is Doris and this is Heart of Stitches. This is my second time filming, and since the last time, I've finished 3 items. I've casted on and finished another item. So I'm really excited to do this. Even again, if no one ever sees this, I'm still going to be helping myself stay more online with what I plan to do, keep track. I've documented more in Ravelry and on Instagram than I have, in months. So this has been a good exercise for myself, even if I haven't made any knitting friends yet. What I'm wearing is this, I can tell you the name of it, maybe. The Sunset Dreams Crochet Shawl. In my knitting and crocheting, I do high and low. Sometimes I buy expensive yarn and do intricate patterns. Sometimes I do simple things that can be done in a day or two with cheaper yarn that you can get at a retail store instead of a local, like indie kind of yarn shop or ordering online. So this I bought at least 2 years ago, I think, and it's Yarnspirations Caron Cotton Cakes. I believe I bought this at Michael's, although it could have been at Joann's. And this is a picture of the pattern, and the pattern is on the band ball band. This is the colorway Wild Blueberry. I actually liked the one that they showed in the picture with the yellow, but as is the problem a lot of times when you go to the big box craft stores, is they don't have everything's picked over. There's one of this or two. So I needed 2 skeins to do this. And this blue variegated, the Wild Blueberry, was the only one that I liked that had 2 of them. So I'm happy with it. I think I would have liked the yellow. Back when I made this, which was probably 2 years ago, I had recently retired and I was trying to get out of my comfort zone as far as wearing black and tan all the time, although now I've sort of switched to navy blue and white. But in the end, I'm not going to change who I am. I am always going to wear conservative colors and try to do more of a capsule kind of wardrobe where everything matches and you don't need so many clothes to make outfits. But I try to be a little bit more bohemian, a little bit more free-spirited. I have to say I don't wear this much. I'm here in Florida and this is too hot to wear. I do put it over my shoulders sometimes. There is an overhead fan, which isn't on today, but when it is on, it's chilly with a breeze blowing down on your head all day. So I will wear a shawl sometimes just over my legs, or over my shoulders, depending on, if I have shorts on or something, sleeveless. 2 years ago, when my grandson was born and he was a baby, I would take this off my chair and put it on him if he fell asleep, like on the bed or even on the floor. So it gets a lot of love, even though it doesn't get a lot of wear outside the house. I'm going to Connecticut next week, so I think I might bring this back up to Connecticut. But anyway, this is a cotton acrylic blend, so it's 60% cotton and 40% acrylic, and it's like a chenille kind of yarn. I think on the fringe you could sort of see it, that it's not like the Caron blanket one with the fibers that stick out, but it is almost like flannel feeling. I don't know if this will show it very well. And here's a little bit more of the colors. I'm going to take it off because it's making me hot. That's a lot around my neck. It is just a basic triangle crochet shawl. You add these tassels at the ends, each end and in the middle. I did it exactly to pattern. It's a self-striping kind of yarns, and it really did make the stripes, since they designed the pattern and the yarn, the stripes really worked out where they're not changing at crazy intervals where I'm having thick stripes and thin stripes. I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's mostly double crochets and looks like some treble crochets, which are English terms. I know you call them something else. I think one up. So a treble crochet would be a double. No, wait. Treble crochet for us. I don't know. These are English terms. And you do front post or back post, so it's creating these ridges as well. So that was a fun thing to do. There's a lot where you skip a stitch and are making sort of eyelets, and that kind of row goes by very fast. I think this only took me a couple days. I was also taking care of my grandson while I was making this, so I would have more interruptions. I don't have it where I can sit and crochet all day. The only thing I did different than the pattern is, you could see on the picture, it had a straight edge, and I just finished mine with a little picot. So I slip stitched, it looks like 4 times, then did a little picot bubble there, and then 4 times bubble. I probably, not at that end. Usually when you get to a corner, unless you count it out very meticulously, I might have only 3 at one of the corners, but it looks like it's pretty even. And I really like to sometimes include a low stress item that's done fast and done cheaply. And now I have a shawl that if my granddaughters take it off the chair and put it on, I'm not, oh my God, it's going to get a cat hair on it, or you're going to spill it or snag it. Not that I don't like this, but I'm not as invested in it as some other things. And there's enough things to stress about. It's nice to make something that is no stress. As I said in my last video, my first video, I'm obsessed with using all of the yarn, especially now that I'm retired and I'm just trying to live a lower footprint existence as far as not holding on to a lot of things. I've been reading up on that Swedish death cleaning where you just get rid of things that aren't serving you anymore and finding someone who can take advantage of it before you're dead and your family has to throw it all away for you. So I took the extra that I had and made this basket. It's very floppy. This yarn isn't really made for a basket, and I probably could have held it double and used the smaller hook, but when I use it as a project bag, so it is floppy, and there was no pattern for it. I just did it myself, but it fits in here nice. I used some of that front post ridging technique to try and give it a little bit more structure so it doesn't just fall on itself like a piece of fabric. And I'm happy with it. This is usually up in that cabinet up behind me. And the basket's cute. And again, if the kids play with it, they're not going to get hurt. They're not going to ruin it. And if they do ruin it, I don't mind as much. So that is finished object. Well, it's not really a finished object. It was what I was wearing. My first finished object is the thing I'm most excited about. I have finished my Yorkshire Crochet Along. It was a crochet along from last year, but I did it after. I started mine after the crochet along. And isn't it beautiful? I won't be able to get it all in. Again, I used the Indie Untangled, I call it an Advent, but it was called the Heritage Wool Countdown to New Year. So it was a 31-day Advent, and you got the traditional 24 minis, 1 full skein, and then the remaining days you got little presents that were yarn or sheep or knitting related, like stitch markers or sheep note cards that were very cute. I couldn't like this more. So when I filmed the first one, I had 3 more to put on. So it was this one and then these 2, which were still on my blocking square. I wet blocked all of my things and then put them on that square. I didn't block them on the square. I don't always block my crochet. I'm a very even gauge crocheter. Mine don't come out very lumpy to start with, but because I loved this so much, I wet blocked all 24 squares. When I was done with the border curls a little, which I don't know if that was just me being too tight or it's these little bobble stitches that is in there. So I sprayed, I pinned it all down, pinned each of these crescents with 3 pins, and then sprayed it and let that dry. I didn't spray the middle just because I wanted it to be done faster and there's no good place in a house with 3 children under 3 to lay something with pins on it on the floor, or I put it on my bed, but then the whole time it was there, I was like, don't touch it, don't touch it. So I did the blocking of the final version a quicker way. And because I didn't really spray it so it was soaking wet, I am still getting a little bit of curling, but I love this blanket. I'm so proud that I've, finished it. It took me 7 months to do the finishing. All of the blocks were done by the 24th of December. And then I did have to wait and get the yarn for the connections, but I don't know why I took so long to finish it because I am so pleased with it. My daughter wants it, but I don't want to give it to her because I love it so much. I think I ordered 2 advents for this year. I might give it to her, but make another one of these and give that to her. But one of the advents I ordered is Little Women, and the other one is the Little Women one was Cami Jo Knits, and the other one was Anne of Green Gables, which I don't remember the person I ordered from. It seems like it was called Skein and Stitch or something like that. She was somebody in the UK. So I'm not sure I'm going to want to give those away. They're expensive, and a blanket's a lot of work, and making it because I want it. So my daughter does know how to crochet, although she's a super, super tight crocheter. We'll have to get her some big hooks or something because she's super tight. But that is finished object number 1. Love, love, love. Couldn't love this more. My second finished object was, ta-da, the Stephen West Knits Go-Go Dynamo. I just had about this much of I-cord to do, and it's done. This I completely wet blocked and pinned down. I have 2 sets of blocking mats, and this monster took them all up, and even then I had to put it on sort of crooked and put my blocking mats like oddly shaped, kind of a trapezoid kind of. And my little bump from last time it's still a little wonky, but it's flat and even, and I'm pleased with this. Again, this isn't the kind of garment for my personality to wear out, like I know I see Stephen West, and it's all like this. I probably would never wear it outside of the house, but I love it. My daughter and my 3 grandchildren love it because it's squishy and soft, and it's very light. Like, even though it's so big, it doesn't weigh that much. So I'm holding it backwards. Sorry. Couldn't love it more. Learned brioche, learned this bubble technique, although mine aren't that bubbly. I didn't pull it tight enough. There was a mosaic kind of thing going on up here with slip stitches. This sort of braided, I don't know what you would call this, loopy stitch here. And then the triangles, I did everything exactly what Stephen West said, except for the triangles. He had, I think, more of a German short row technique in how you went back and forth. I had just finished 7 emotional support chickens. And so I used the technique in that, where you're spreading something in a triangular kind of pattern, which is more of a wrap and turn. Love the pattern, love everything about it. A lot of ends to weave in. You know, this isn't, if you hate to weave in ends, this pattern's not for you. But I weave in as I go, so I'm never left with 150 ends to do. So I love this. As much as I say Stephen West patterns aren't really for me, when he does his MKAL in October, I'll probably be right on board, because they're just so beautiful and they're fun and educational. So I say I'm more of a process or product knitter now. But I'm still only 4 years into really knitting. I learned 50 years ago, but I didn't really knit. I had only made a couple of things that were straight, you know, scarves and things. I probably still will make another Stephen West just because the experience is so fun and rewarding. My next finished object is technically a finished object from at least a year and a half ago, are my granddaughter's sweaters. As I showed last time, I think it was this one. It had toothpaste all over it, down the arm. It came right off. I don't know what I was worried about. I think this is where you could sort of see almost a little pale spot where the toothpaste had been. But it didn't pill up for me because I did have to give it a little zhuzh. But since I showed them last time, and I thought I would give the rundown of what cloud must have gone over. My lighting just got way darker. Sorry about that. It's Florida, and it'll probably come back in a couple minutes. I bought this yarn at a local yarn shop in Connecticut. She didn't have enough for 2 sweaters, so she ordered me some. But it took her a really long time to get back to me to say that it was in. So I'd been in a different yarn shop, and they had it, but in a slightly different color. So she ordered me some. So I have actually a lot of this yarn left. So I made each of the girls' sweaters. They're twins, but as I was making this one, which is a size 2, I decided I would make the second one I had to make in size 3. My granddaughters are basically the same size, but one is an inch and, well, now maybe an inch and a half taller and tends to be a pound less or the same weight. So one's a little lankier than the other. They're both petite. I think they're probably, as those percentiles go, in the less than 50%. But one is a little bit taller and thinner than the other. So I made the 2 different sizes. I love this pattern. The only thing I am not crazy about in this pattern is, I'm gonna hold up the bigger one because you'll see better. And I'm gonna do up the buttons. My granddaughters wish they had more buttons. That is a for sure. I like an open sweater over a dress, especially when you're in a hot climate like here, but they can't seem to stop pulling at the button band looking for the rest of the buttons. The way this scoops down, on an adult, it's probably would be a fine style of pattern, or maybe on an older child, but on their age, it's a little low. So when I make them another sweater, because I'm sure even though they live in Florida, I will be making them other sweaters. I'm going to look for one with a more crew neck kind of opening and not this drop down. But other than that, that's my one thing that I don't love about this pattern is just how low the neckline is. But it was very straightforward. It was very easy to work up. I think this was, I'm not sure it would be free if you weren't buying the yarn. I mean, I bought 12 balls of yarn, so I got the pattern for free. But the yarn is called Sirdar's Snuggly Baby Bamboo Decay, and it's also printed on this pattern. So I think this was promotional from Sirdar. I went on their website when I was going to talk about this, and I couldn't find it on their website, but the pattern number is 1752. So I don't know if I didn't go back once I found the paper copy. The woman at the fabric store or at the yarn store gave it to me. And it comes in 0 to 6 months to 6 to 7 years. So it's a pretty wide range of their child sizes. I would say this, because of the low neckline and the little flower on it, I would say it's more of a girl's kind of sweater. I did the long sleeves. They also have an option that's got sort of a puffy 3/4 sleeve, which I don't see a baby wearing that kind of sleeve. Like, it'd just be flopping around and not keep them warm. So great pattern, great yarn. I do have a lot of yarn. I'm not sure I have enough to make a sweater for me, but I was thinking of the Sophie scarf. But this might be too drapey and soft, that if, I shouldn't do this to the sweater, but if I had this, it would probably be too droopy for a Sophie scarf. But if anyone ever sees this and has a suggestion for this nice yarn, I do have probably at least 5 balls of it, and I believe it was a 50-gram ball. Actually, I have the ball bands. Hold on. Because I had bought them at 2 stores. I paid $7.50 at one and $6.99 at the other. Yeah, it's a 50-gram ball. And that's 95 meters, 104 yards. And I think I have like 5 or even 6 of these. And this is, I had said last time it was all bamboo, but I was wrong. It is 80% bamboo and 20, doesn't say what the other 20% is. Oh, 20% wool. So it's 80% bamboo, 20% wool. This was called, the shade was 081 Pale Linen was the one that I bought. My other finished good, which finished item, I was an accountant, so I'll probably say finished goods every time, and it's just force of habit. It's a language, like muscle memory language. I made this darling. It looks a little bit like a handkerchief, but it's called the Garter Bonnet, and it was from a website. Hold on. I found it on Ravelry and it was free, but it took you to a website where you downloaded it from there. And on the website, it was called Spring Garter Bonnet. So I think it goes by 2 different names. Destiny Meyer was the designer of this. This is also using Lions brand woolies. So this is going to be in addition to the blanket that I talked about last year, or last podcast. The colorway is Stillwater. I made the 6 to 9 month size where you cast on 50 stitches. There was 2, because the baby is going to be born this month. Even in Connecticut, you don't need a bonnet on a baby's head. Not that one that's this woolly and thick until December, January. So I made the 6 to 9 month size. My nephew is actually on my ex-husband's side, so he didn't get the big head gene that I passed down to my kids. But this is so cute. I will put up a picture of my grandson wearing it. He has his head down so you can't see his face. But when you put the baby's head in there, it gives you this little tiny like point at the back, which is so darling. So this is ready to go. Oops. With the mouse ear blanket, which I spoke about last time, so I'm not going to go into that. And then I have to get to UPS or the post office and send this out before the baby's born. So then not that they'll need it when the baby's born in August in Connecticut, but it will be there for them when the baby is born and not come afterwards. So whips. I have moved Paloma to a white pillowcase, as I talked about. So my yarn is still in this bag. I am using Knitting for Olive in the colorway Ballerina. I just started this this ball, and I have one more, and I have 2 of the mohair, as well as this. Pull this so I don't lose any stitches. The Paloma is from Espace Tricot. It is a turtleneck raglan style sweater. This is a US 7 4.5 millimeter needle. It's got twisted rib collar and then a stripe of twisted rib that goes down the sleeves. So as I showed you last time, I did a sewn bind off on this one, which it's terrible. Especially at the very end, I really did a poor job, which is unlike me with a needle. Not to brag, but that's if everybody has a sewing or knitting superpower, hand needles, hand sewing is mine usually. On this side, I did the Jenny's super stretchy bind off, which it's so stretchy, it's almost like doesn't almost even feel bound off. And the Stephen West I found his instructions clearer. I also watched the Andrea Mowry. She more clearly said that she binds off on the wrong side. So I turned it around, did sort of a wrap and turn, and bound off from the inside. And I think I like that better. You get a pretty good bump on the knit side, not on the purl side. And on the outside, now this is on the reverse side from the direction you're going, it's not as big, it's not as noticeable. So I'm very happy with this. I think I might have made these sleeves a little looser than I like. I don't like anything flopping around my wrists. I end up pushing my sleeves up anyway, so who am I kidding? It doesn't really matter what the cuffs look like because they're usually at my elbows. But I have this purple was where we were last time. So I've done, I don't know, 5 inches, maybe 4.5 inches. I keep measuring it. I like my sweaters a little long just to cover things. I think I'm at, from the underarm to the end, at 11.5 inches now. A sweater that I knit that I like is 15 inches to the bottom. So I'm going to go at least, to 13 inches and then try it on and make sure once I go to my final ball, then I'm going to have to start weighing every couple of rows to make sure I save enough for the ribbing rows at the bottom. I had said I wasn't going to point out everything wrong with my knitting, but I have a pretty large underarm hole there. So I'm going, oh, I see why. I didn't weave in the end. It's loosening up on its own. It's not me. I don't have to criticize myself today. I am hoping to finish this within a week. A week from today, I'm going back to Connecticut, and I would love to have this done before I go. And I'm going to Scotland in October, and I want to bring this. And I'm hoping at least one day, not to wish cold weather on the Scots, I'm wishing for one day where I'll be able to wear it, because I'm excited to wear it, and I've been spending so much time in Florida that I need a chance to wear this. And it's so soft and fluffy, but I think it's going to be warm, and I tend to run a little hot anyway. My other work in progress that I showed last time is the Habitation throw, and I haven't gotten a ton. So where we were last time, I think I was on the first row of the white, so I finished the 10 rows of white, and now I'm on to, I wanted to do like a chocolate brown, but either Emma's yarn didn't have the color I wanted, or I didn't see it when I was there. So this one is called Oh My Gourd. And it's a nice sort of cinnamony color, I guess the color of a gourd. In America, I don't know if they have them in other countries, but you can get these gourds that dry out, and they make birdhouses out of them, and they are this color. And at least in Connecticut, as soon as you put them out, they start to discolor, but they're usually varnished or something. But I like this color, and I balled up a bunch more colors that I bought, and this is all Emma's Basically Beautiful halves. It's their superwash merino in a 50-gram skein. I think I'm gonna do this color next, which is called Himalayan Salt. And seeing these together, this is colors from my wedding years and years ago. I had an autumn wedding in Connecticut, and the bridesmaids had this color. My sister, who's my maid of honor, had a darker color than this. So I don't know if you can see that one strand that's darker. Her dress was at least that dark, if not darker. If you're ever in Connecticut, or even any of the New England states in the fall, it's just gorgeous. We have maple trees and oak trees, but the maple trees are the star of the show for sure. And it's usually warm when the leaves are turning, so it's just a beautiful time to be in New England. Rhinebeck is around that time, so anybody who's gone to Rhinebeck has probably seen the leaves, even if you're not from that part of the world. So I already have a couple stripes of the purple. This one's a different purple, but now I'm trying to like decide which colors to include. I have this dark one. I forgot what it was called. I have the band inside of here. It is called Barking Up the Wrong Tree. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, because I did talk about it last time. The Habitation throw is a square pattern, but I'm making mine rectangular. So the only thing I'm doing differently is I'm not decreasing. I'm decreasing on one side and continuing to increase on the other side so that it comes out to be rectangular. Hopefully that's working. The geometry of like I'm staying at the same number of stitches, although maybe it might be jagging, but I might be able to fix that with blocking, but I think it is leaning a little to the side where I'm not sure. But when it's on somebody's lap, nobody's gonna know that it's a little off square. But I do think it might, that it's gonna end up a little off square. And I am using the scraps from my Indian Tangled Advent up until this green. And then from there on, it's Emma's yarn. This one was called Lilac something. Lilac, you know me or something. I think I don't remember the colors. This one's Wink, I know that. And then this last one is called Oh My Gourd. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And I will only show it when I've got a couple rows of progress. Since I'm going to Scotland, I am looking to make more wearable things, not a blanket, for the next 2 months, or the 6 weeks. And then I'll come back and I'll try and finish this up. I have a couple blankets on the go, but until Scotland, I'm going to be making garments, not blankets. My last work in progress is a sweater that I started a long time ago, like a year ago, and I got back to working on it. It is on silicone tubing at the moment because I tried it on. And one thing I am worried about is this neck is big. I still have to pick up stitches and do some ribbing, so I think when I pick up the stitches, I don't want to make it puckery, but I think I could probably even just do a couple rows of flat knitting and decrease so I bring this in, because I don't want flash dance moments where I'm pulling this up on my shoulder all day long. I think that's the back and that's the front. It's got an eyelet sleeve, and then the rest is just stockinette. This pattern is by Juliana Lustenader. Here's a picture of it. It's called the Elva tee. I looked at almost all the projects that I could see on Ravelry. This one doesn't look like this because this is actually the pattern photo, but a lot of people's sleeve finishing, it ends with garter stitch rows, are a little wobbly, like ruffly, and I don't want that for mine. So I might try a couple different ways of resolving the sleeves. Right now they're very big, so I'm going to, I think I'm supposed to, when I finish off the sleeves, just go right to the garter and do it now, but I want a little bit more sleeve coverage. So I'm going to keep going and try to stay in this pattern. And I said last time, I'm always so worried about making something too small that I tend to make them too big. And this yarn, I can think it's, even as I'm knitting it, it's loosening and stretching on me. But for such a summery garment, and it's a little bit see-through enough that I'm going to have to wear something under it, I think being loose will be great as far as like a boxy fit that lets some air in there. So I would be able to wear this for some of the months in Florida, not all year or anything, but, and this is Expression Fiber Arts Trek. It's 30% linen, 30% mulberry silk, and 40% baby alpaca. So that might be why it's stretching so much. There's 410 meters or 448 yards per 100 grams. I am using a US 4 3.5mm needle for this. So I just have to put these back on and I can keep going. So right now I have a little bit of sleeves to do and maybe halfway done with the length. Looks like it ends in a garter stitch band as well, which I'm not mad at that. I might do that double and fold it so it just looks a little cleaner. But I have 2 full skeins left, as well as a good size amount of a ball. And I plan on having this done by the time I go to Scotland. So I'll have, I'm going to bring the Anchor shirt and the Paloma, this, and then I have a few shawls in mind to make, or neckerchiefs. There was a new one by Laura Penrose, I think it was called Jackie. I want to make that one. I don't have enough time to make a sweater for every day that I'm in Scotland, but I want to have a couple anyway. I'm going with a knitting group, so I don't want to be the only one not wearing wool. And then we're down to 6 things. Number 1 is an Instagram man. His name is Caron, and on Instagram it's Caron_music. He's funny. Full warning, he cusses a lot, more than I like. And in Ireland they used a word they just bandy about that in America is offensive. So I do cringe a little at the cussing. But he's funny and he's dear-hearted, and it's not my story to tell, but he's told it several times on his own, I don't know, we call it a reel, his reels, that he had struggled with anxiety, and then just earlier this year he stopped posting and canceled engagements that he had, and he's back. I don't know if he's going to start doing live engagements anymore, but he's back to posting every day. So I am so happy for him that he's in a better place than he was a couple months ago. He's funny, he's dear, and he, at the end of it, all of his reels, he says, "Follow me, I'm delicious." I just love this man, and I'm happy for him that he's feeling better. My other one, I guess you could call it an acquisition, is I bought this from Twice Sheared Sheep, and it's a quick gauge for a stitch gauge measuring device. I bought one for my sister and one for myself when they were first coming out. I think they go in and out of stock because they're that good. So you hold this over your knitting and you just sort of slide it around until your stitches fall into one of the I'm trying to see where this one is. It looks like I am at 6.5, maybe 7. I'm a little in the middle, between 6.5 and 7 stitches per inch. And like, I'm holding this in my hand and I'm doing it fast, but what a wonder. I mean, when I try to measure my thing, I end up putting pins and pulling, and then am I pulling it too much? Am I not pulling it enough? Once you have your stitch gauge, it's just so easy to measure, and you're not counting and making, at least for me, I'm always like, did I count that one? Did I count it twice? So this thing's a wonder. My sister hasn't told me whether she liked hers or not. She was here a couple weeks ago, and I gave her it. So I don't know if she's used hers yet. But if you want something to make your life easier and yourself a little happier. It wasn't expensive. It's just really a piece of plastic with some printing on it. But I'm not sure it is showing, or is it going to be backwards? So I hope if I, hold on. Let's try this. Okay. So it has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 different stitch gauges, number of stitches. I think it works great. I think it works for crochet as well, but don't quote me on that. I've only used it for knitting. My next happy thing that made me happy anyway this week was, in the summer, it's so hard to find things to watch. Your, regular shows that you watch aren't on. So I had watched a movie. I think I watched it on, it was either on Peacock or Netflix, called Nona's. And it's Vince Vaughn, and he's opening a restaurant, and he hires Nonas, Italian grandmothers, to be the cooks. And Brenda Vaccaro's in it, and Lorraine Bronco is in it, Talia Shire is in it, and Susan Sarandon. So it was just, I cried like weeping tears at the end of it. So it's just sentimental. It's just a nice movie. And I'm not really a big fan of Vince Vaughn, like that silly kind of humor, or the guy that's sort of a-hole that comes around at the end isn't my kind of movie. But this, he was a nice guy right from the get-go. He was none of that wise-alecky stuff that he usually does. Great movie. I really enjoyed it. The other one is an Instagram blog, and I looked it up and wrote her name down. Hold on. It's called Moon Bay Crochet. So it's Moon, and then Bay is B-A-E Crochet. And this girl is doing all of the Disney and Pixar movies, from Snow White, which was the first one, through, she's in the 2000s. I don't know if she's going up till, whatever the newest one was this year, or if there's a cutoff. But she shows you a little movies, then she shows you her yarn color scheme inspiration, and then she makes a square that's representative of a scene in the movie, or an iconic image in the movie, or, you'd have to see them to, I don't want to give any of them away, but while she's talking, I'm thinking, what would I do? What iconic, color or image would I make? Sometimes I think the same one that she does. Sometimes, sometimes they're different, and she's definitely way better than what I would have picked. And a couple times I think I've like, no, I still would have gone with what I was going to pick, but it's very enjoyable. I think she's up to 34 squares in her blanket. So I'm not sure how many squares are left. But she's been very, very fun to watch. The last two is, I don't want to spill tea on myself. And this actually is not a good thing. I love this Tyree tea, but the tea wicks up into their strings more than other teas I've noticed. And it seems like I'm always with a wet spot down the side of my cup. My sister gave me this cup for my birthday. And it's, I don't know if she meant it to be reminiscent of my grandfather and my father, but when we were little, my grandparents lived only about a mile from us, and my father was very close to his parents. They had a very big lot. And my father and grandfather planted a huge garden where they would harvest bushels of string beans and peas. And they would always have 2 rows on the side and 2 rows in the front of sunflowers. And the varietal that they planted were these big, like the heads were so heavy. By the end of the summer, they'd just be drooping down, and we never really harvested the sunflower seeds. I think the birds harvested them for us. But then they would, you know, cut them down and turn them over, and the birds could just have them. Maybe my grandfather ate some of the seeds, but we didn't. But they were just ornamental for our family. But you know, of course, I miss my grandfather and my father, and this big garden. And we thought we were the most put upon children to walk the earth, because we'd go over there almost daily, and they'd say, you know, pick peas or weed something, and oh, why do we have to do that? And now I garden as a hobby, and I would do it for free. So you learn what you know what you learned as a kid, and it comes back to you at some point. They had a big row of the most healthy, vibrant rhubarb that I'd ever seen either. And I don't really like rhubarb. It's coming to be a little bit as I get older. My mother used to like it. And my last one is my grandchildren. My 2 granddaughters are twins, and they are 3.5. And one of them in particular is starting to say, I love you on her own. Like, if, you know, you say you love her, sometimes she'll say, I love you back over the last year or so. But now she'll just be sitting in my lap and say, I love you, Nana. It's like, my heart melts. The other granddaughter doesn't say it as much. She's more of a quiet hugger. She doesn't sit on your lap too, because she's a wiggly worm. But the one who's a cuddle bug will just sort of whisper it. I love you, Nana. It's the best thing ever. And my grandson has started to like run at you and do hug. So best thing ever. And then that's it. That's 6 things that made me happy this week. I hope you have more than 6 that make you happy, and I will keep you in my heart of stitches. Thank you.